Yeah, I can even turn on my audio. How about that? There we go. There we go. Sasha says, drop the mic, walk away, pretend like you never ever showed up. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Yeah, everybody in the chat room's like, come on, Tom. Come on, Tom. No audio. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2. Y'all are hearing me now. Quit teasing me like that. It's a conspiracy. I know what it is. It's a conspiracy. Okay. Hey, glad you're here. If you're watching us on YouTube live, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com because then you can see all the really nice people in the chat room and join in with them. And it'll be a lot of fun. And introduce yourselves. They're great. They'll make you feel right at home. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube after the fact, yeah, come watch us live. That live is a ton of fun. We're on Wednesday afternoons at 3 o'clock Eastern, easternshorebroadcasting.com, or you can watch us on the YouTube channel live too. That's fine too. But also subscribe, and that way, if you miss the show live, you'll get a little reminder to come back and watch us after the fact. Not that these shows are really that great and worth watching after the fact, but you never know. You may need, on my YouTube listing, it says, what kind of category is it? Is it a cooking show? Is it a tech show? Is it a comedy show? And I said, yeah, it's a comedy show. Oh my gosh. I am excited. A lot of stuff going on. Gee whiz. Last week, as you recall, this is a kind of an ongoing saga. Last week, as you recall, we were in an undisclosed remote secret location because the internet in our regular location was going all over the map. And so we packed up all our temporary studio stuff, carted it off to my church, set up portable green screen, lights, camera action, and had a pretty good broadcast. I thought, we didn't have all the things that we're used to here in the studio. We didn't have the jaws of death coming in at the beginning of the show, but that's okay. It worked out all right. And I was all set to pack up today, had my box ready, and then the MediaCom, we have MediaCom cable, and it's supposed to be 150 down and like 25 up, and we were getting like 80 down, which is still okay, and 25 up, and then 0 down and 0 up 5 minutes later, so it was not workable. Anyway, so my hero, Ryan from MediaCom, who came out of the Mobile, Alabama office, showed up and said, well, look, let's just do a temporary installation of a trick I know. And so he did his little trick, plugged it in, and we have been good to go. Now, it's temporary. So MediaCom, if you're watching this, it is temporary. You must fix this eventually because I can't live with this temporary thing. I've got this little squirrel in a cage out here, and he's running around. He's getting really tired. Anyway, so thumbs up to MediaCom for getting us back in the regular studio again, and it's great to be back here amongst all my regular stuff. It really is good to be here. We've got some really exciting projects that we're working on, and it's like, when it rains, it pours. I'll go for a while with no projects, and then all of a sudden, pow, some stuff starts showing up. And so I thought I'd let's see. I thought I would bring in some of the projects that we're working on. This is, and I haven't had time to set it up yet, this is the perfect track from PTZ Optics. This is the camera that will follow you when you move. And so I'm so excited about getting this installed, and hopefully next week or the week after, we can have a demo of that on the show, and we can show how it works, and it's really, really going to be cool. Kind of in the same PTC Optics theme, I've gotten this PoE switch that will give me 7 channels internet with power on the switch so that I can power PTZ cameras with a PoE splitter that goes into the back of it. So we'll be talking about that in the next week or 2 or 3 also. Plus, I'm going to be trying that out at my church just to see. And I've got PTZ Optics was great about sending me a couple of demo cameras so I can hook up 3 or more cameras at the same time to the switch and see what we've got in terms of latency. That's my big concern. And also making sure that there's enough power to each camera and that, the cameras don't blow up or anything like that. Anyway, so that's the PoE switch, and that's from Wi-Fi Texas, and we'll have some more information about that. In fact, we might even try to get them on the show at some point, because PoE is going to be great. And you figure with a camera like this, and let me just flip this bad boy around. If you figure that we can do power PoE, so we're coming in and taking care of our power, and then if we're running LAN for our internet, for our video, then we're running that there, and then we're doing, over there, and then we're doing the control there. So we're running one cable to this guy that's got power, control, and video. So it's sending power, sending control, and receiving video back. I'm stoked. Now you're probably wondering what this guy is over here. This is the one that may take me the longest to get to, but you guys are going to enjoy the most, because what it is, let the genie out of the bottle here, it's a camera. It's a camera. It's a camera, and we got to give a shout out to Dave, because Dave's in the chat room today. Dave has sent me this camera. It is a ceiling camera, so it mounts up above me, somewhere up there, and it's going to shoot down on top of me or on top of my work surface so that you guys can see what's going on here, and there'll be a lot of opportunities to do that. I'm not quite sure exactly how I'm going to mount it. I promise you I'm not cutting, if my wife is watching, I'm not cutting a hole in the ceiling, honey. I'm not cutting a hole in the ceiling. There might be some small holes, but there's not going to be a big hole. So anyway, thanks to Dave for that camera, and can't wait to get it in and take a look at it and see how it works and let you guys. Now it is standard definition, but it's supposed to be a really high quality standard definition. So we'll take a look and see. And as you know, if you come from the standard definition background like I have, standard definition is really about the sensor and the glass. And so if this has got a good sensor and good glass, then we'll be okay. We'll be okay. We'll see. And that's from Vadio. Golly, let's see. What else? Oh, you know what? I should have said this at the beginning. Full disclosure. Here comes I need a drum roll button. We'll do that next week. Anyway, so I'll have a drum roll here on the keyboard. But full disclosure, I am an authorized reseller for a lot of the products that we talk about here on this show. So, don't think of this as a show. Think of it as an infomercial. No, think of it as a show. Don't think of it as an infomercial. But anyway, I represent vMix. I represent Magewell. I represent PTZ Optics. I even represent VidBlaster. And I'm able to get my hands on lots of other things. We're actually trying to work out a deal right now with PI Engineering so that we can represent them with their X-Key line. So that will be kind of fun too. You remember we had the X-Keys, what was it? The T-Bar 24, XKE 124 T-Bar a couple of weeks ago. And in fact, hat tip to the folks from PI Engineering. They said, Tom, we would like you to keep that demo. We're going to send you a bill for it, but we want to make you a great deal on it. I said, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And then I had a great client call me 2 days later and said, Tom, have you got one of those T-bars I can get my hands on? So I may not get to keep it. I may have to sell it. So Scotty, if you're listening, yes, I got your email. I got your phone call. I'm sorry. I'm going to call you back. I'm going to email you back, but not right this minute. But it will be soon. It will be soon. And Alan, I'm going to call you. And who else am I going to call? Oh, my gosh. John. I'm going to call John. Is John watching today? Anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. There's something that have we got time for a quick story? Yeah, we got time for a quick story. This is just a really quick story, personal story from me. Last week, right before last week's show, remember we're remote location, right before last week's show, I get a few chest pains. Well, I'm a heart attack survivor. 6 years ago, I had a heart attack, and they put in some stents, and then a couple years later, they put in some more stents, and every now and then I'll get a little chest pain, and so I'll pop a little nitro and say, I got to remember to tell my doctor what day it was that I had this. And then, so I did the show, pain went away, did the show. After the show, the pain came back. That's never happened before. So I popped another nitro, packed up. I was actually at my church, and my priest came over after they asked me about the show and said, how'd it go? And I said, it went well. And I said, by the way, would you mind praying for me, because I'm suffering chest pains right now. And, he was with me 6 years ago when I had my heart attack. So he prayed for me, and I went home. And the pain went away after I took the second nitro. I went home, I was telling my wife what was going on. While I was telling her, pain came back a third time. I said, this is no good. So we called the doc. He said, or his nurse said, can't ever talk to a doc on the phone the first time, unless it's about fishing or boating or something like that. Anyway, she said, go to the emergency room. We went to the emergency room. Long story short, they weren't able to do anything with me that night, so they just pumped me through pumped me full of a bunch of blood thinners, so I didn't die overnight. And then the next day, they stuck the catheter up in my wrist, went all the way up, down into the heart, looked around in the heart, said, we don't see any problems in there. You probably just had a spasm. Well, I can be pretty spastic, so that doesn't surprise me. But they said, yeah, you had a microspasm in your microscopic cardiac arteries. So anyway, long story short, last week after the show was very exciting for all the wrong reasons. And whenever you get a heart cath, they generally knock you out. It takes me about 3 days to recover from the anesthesia. So if I seem a little whacked out today, more than normal, yeah, that's my excuse. That's my excuse. But I'm doing well, and I'm happy, and I feel good, and go to see the doc in a couple of weeks. And they just, you're just spastic. Speaking of spastic, Merle's like, oh, I knew this was coming. No, I'm teasing. Hey, the George and Merle show is on. If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube. Just Google George and Merle, or Google George Price, or Google Merle Dixon, and you're likely to have tell you what, let's don't just Google it. Let's show it off. You want to see a little bit of this show? Of course you do. I do. Hold on, let's see if we can't get it queued up here and maybe make it go.
I think we're all in agreement there, Merle.
Yeah, this could not have happened as many as maybe 5 years ago. Kudos goes to Martin Sinclair of vMix for.
Now that's Merle in the middle, and that's Giles to his left, and then in the screen to the right is George, and below him is John. So it's like all these folks from our great chat room. Anyway, we'll play some more. Here we go.
Making this happen.
Yeah, and I'd also like to recognise Tom Sinclair for making me aware of this product. As you know, I've been looking at other products, but really this product is still amazing me. We're still finding out all the new things we can do with it. It's a most incredible piece of software.
Yeah, I tell you again, vMix, the folks at vMix continually to improve their product and add new functions to it. They've got a whole list of resources that you can live stream to and add different camera inputs in these virtual sets that you're looking at now. Again, they have made a product that, and vMix 18, when it comes out with the shortcuts that it's going to have available for you, there's not going to be a better product for the price on the market anywhere than vMix.
I think you're absolutely right, George. It really is completely amazing project. Have you got anything to add to that, John?
Well, no, not really. I would say that I'm a recent adapter of vMix. I've been playing around with other software mixers for a little while, and one of the things that has impressed me so much is the speed of which Martin Sinclair is able to adapt new technologies such as the NDI protocol. And now we see actuators and even better MIDI integration and stuff like that. I mean, I'm impressed of how fast they've been able to adapt new technology and put in support into vMix. That is really, really impressive, especially when you compare with competing products.
Yeah, and we're not going to let those guys take over the show, but that's the Merle and George show, and and Giles was on the show, and John was on the show. So hat tip to all four of you guys for putting that together. And of course, here I am, the one from Alabama, but it's Giles that's in the overalls. I love it. I love it. So the Merle and George show every Tuesday, I think. And so if anybody's got a URL for that, want to lay it on me in the chat room, that would be great too. And if Giles and John are doing shows, we want to know about those too. And I'm delighted that you guys have discovered vMix, because I think it's a super product as well. And I'm very happy to represent them. In fact, I spent a good time this morning in a training session with some folks that represent a hockey team up in Canada, and we've just placed one of our PCs up there, and it's going to run the instant replay and all the other kinds of stuff for the hockey team. And so we were doing a little online training, and that was a lot of fun. One other of our viewers is kind of in the news, and Rich, I hope I'm going to pronounce your last name correctly, because we're all on a first name basis here, and so we don't always get to it. But Rich Ignacio with Pro Watercross put a video up this weekend of this guy on this hover type craft, and doggone if he didn't have 1 million hits. And then he had 2 million. Then he had 4 million. And then he had 10 million. And then he had 20 million. And I don't know, Rich, what was the final count of views on the videos that you made? I mean, this is a hoverboard like you would see kids going down the street on, except theirs has wheels. But this one is just with some sort of turbo fans or something. Anyway, you can get more information about this. Go to Pro Watercross on Facebook. And Rich does broadcasting almost every weekend of jet ski races from all over the U.S. And anyway, I highly commend that to you. And congratulations to Rich for going viral all over the internet and getting. And I think he also said he sent out an email this week saying that his broadcasts have had over 100 million views, and that he's got over 100,000 folks that are subscribed. So big thumbs up to Rich. Keep going. He's using vMix. The sky's the limit. There are all sorts of great things that you can do if you put your mind to it. Anyway, really fun. So, and I think Rich may put a link up to, it's up to 105 million now. Oh, what's an extra 5 million? Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm lighting my cigars with $100 bills. I love it. Rich, you're too much. Too much too soon. Shifting away from that. Oh, you know what I was going to do, and I apologize. I was going to, and because Martin K made this stinger for me, but we were going to use the stinger as the intro to these, and I forgot all about using that. and that's what happens when you're a one-man show is you forget to do all the one-man stuff. And so it's nice to have cool toys to play with, as Rich and Merle and George and Giles and John will all attest to. Pretty cool, pretty cool. What else is news, kind of news? A couple things. Let's talk about hardware for a second. As you know, Blackmagic has redesigned two pieces of two capture cards, the Decklink Duo, which used to be 2 in, 2 out SDI, HD SDI, and the Blackmagic Quad, which used to be 4 in, 4 out. And now the Quad is 8 in, 8 out, and the Duo is 4 in, 4 out. And they kept the price about the same. Uh-oh, wow. So now you can get a 4-port SDI capture card, HD of course, capture card and an output card for under $500. Under $500 from Blackmagic. Oh my gosh. So that card is actually the base for one of our Bolt 4 products, and I don't have the Bolt 4 with me. I'll show it to you. Anyway, it's a Thunderbolt box that has this card embedded in it. And so since the price of the card has gone down, the price of the Bolt 4 has gone down. So it's gone down from $12.99 to $9.99. And $9.99 if you've got Thunderbolt 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 3. There's an adapter for Thunderbolt 3, but you can plug right in and get 4 ports of SDI video input for, like for a laptop, like for my Asus ROG laptop right here. In fact, that's what I used last week. I used the Bolt 4 to get input into that. So that was pretty fun. So we will see what that does for Blackmagic. They have also released a micro converter that will convert HDMI to SDI. So if you were looking for a brand name converter, take a look at that. I think it was about $85. Now you can get the no name HDMI to SDI converters for 25, 40 bucks, something like that. I think Marcus has told me he got some for about 25. So for $25, you can get 2 of them, one to use and one to put in the toolbox for when the first one breaks. But the point of that is to say that if you've got an HDMI camera and you see all of a sudden this value here with SDI capture cards, if you add the converter to it, it still ends up being a really, really good deal to go the SDI route and convert from HDMI. Plus, sooner or later, you're going to go to SDI anyway, unless we have an NDI camera come out at some point in the future. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. Another thing that has popped out on the market lately that I think is kind of interesting is a product from Telestream. Telestream, those are the folks that make all sorts of software, including Wirecast. And so they have come out with a Wirecast box. I think it's a 2U rack mount, maybe single U. Anyway, it's pretty skinny. They haven't sent me one to test. But it's got Wirecast in it. It's got an i7 processor and a 4-port SDI capture card. Probably the Magwell or maybe even the Blackmagic. It's one of those where it comes off the motherboard with some sort of connector and mounts sideways so that it can get in the small case. And interesting thing is that it's using the embedded graphics. It's using the graphics embedded on the processor and not using a separate graphics card. And I think the vMix U is doing the same thing. So keep your eyes out for the graphics processing in the chips that are coming out, because we might find that we don't need those, $100 and $200 and $300 heavy-duty graphics cards by NVIDIA to make everything sing. So we'll see. Rudy says it's a 1.3U. Okay, so that would be, we'd call it a 1 1/3. So if you had 3 of them, it would be a 4U. Anyway, wouldn't fit in a 4U case, that's for sure. Yeah, John says he's got some of those HDMI to SDI adapters, and they've worked flawlessly so far even using a 100-meter SDI cable. So there's a good rep. So the interesting thing about the Wirecast box, well, there are lots of things that I think are interesting. It starts at $49.95, which is just another way of saying $5,000. Well, $5,000 just happens to be, or $49.95, happens to be the price of the, yes, that's right, the NewTek TriCaster Mini, the base model, or the one below the base model in the TriCaster line. And so, you know, the Telestream has got, I think the base model Wirecast Gear is what they're calling it. Actually, is 4 ports of HDMI input for $5,000, 4 ports of SDI input for $6,000, and something else for $8,000. So anyway, sounds pretty pricey to me. You know, maybe it's a brand name thing. I mean, you know, if we were to build a custom PC for somebody that had 4 ports of, well, let's just pick 4 ports SDI input, their $6,000 box. I promise you, we wouldn't be charging $6,000 in it, and it also wouldn't have Wirecast in it. But that's just me. I mean, it could have Wirecast if you wanted Wirecast, but the preference would be vMix because not only are we resellers, but we actually use the product ourselves. You know, I don't just endorse the soap, but I use it myself, and that's why I look so good and smell so good. So interesting to see whether the Wirecast Gear, this hardware line, will have any staying power. I'm expecting that it will last about a year. They'll try to develop a dealer channel for hardware, and they'll find that all the dealers that they want are already selling the TriCaster Mini, and you know, why take on another product that does the same thing or less for the same price unless there's some sort of financial incentive in it. So, yeah, Rudy put the link in the chat, telestream.net/wirecast/wirecast-gear.htm. So if you want to look out, you can take a look at that too. But I am not favorably impressed. I'm not favorably impressed with the price. I think, you know, for what you get, you know, I could certainly build it for you and include my markup and sell it for at least $1,000, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 less. So I can't imagine that's going to be unless you know, this is a manufacturer's suggested list price, and that dealers are able to kind of sell it at less than list price. So they sell this $5,000 box for $4,200, and you get to feel like you're getting an $800 deal. But you know, when I could build the same $5,000 box for you for $3,200, not impressed. But I guess because I'm a competitor in that sense, I'm going to be pretty critical of those kinds of things. So that's just my opinion. My opinion for what it's worth. I ought to have a little opinion jaws that come down and say, look out, Tom's opinion. Oh my goodness. That about wraps it up for today's show. If you're watching us live, and there are a few of you out there, we welcome you to come into the chat room. If you're coming in late, if you're the last one in, you have to bring the snacks to the post show. So it's okay, they're virtual snacks. So you can just post a box of popcorn, a picture of a box of popcorn if you like. Delighted that you're with us today. It's been my pleasure to bring it to you. I'm kind of honored that people would come hang out. And if you have some ideas of things you'd like to see on this show, shoot me an email. Tom at easternshorebroadcasting.com. If you think, you know, that I could help you with something and you've got a quick question about vMix or about streaming in general, shoot me an email. I'm happy to address questions. I mean, if it's getting into a long, complicated thing, yeah, we would want you to actually have a support ticket and we charge you for that, but we don't charge a whole lot. It's just $50 an hour with a 1 hour minimum for support stuff. So if you're jammed up and you don't know where else to call, I know Ty and I worked together a couple of weeks ago, and you know, I thought she was satisfied. She's watching the show today, so maybe she is. If that will help you, I'm happy to do it. And if you're interested in a custom PC for your church or for your school or for your university, your hospital, civic organization, whatever, I'm happy to chat with you about that and at least steer you in the right direction if we don't actually build something for you. So, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you next week right here, Streaming Idiots, 3 o'clock, Wednesday afternoon, Eastern Time. Okay? Okay. Take care.